The coup of 18 Brumaire marked a decisive turning point in French history, ending the turbulent years of the French Revolution and opening the path for Napoleon Bonaparte to seize power. By late 1799, France was exhausted by political chaos, economic instability, and endless wars. The Directory government, established to stabilize the Republic, had instead become weak, corrupt, and deeply unpopular. Many French citizens longed for order rather than ideological purity. Napoleon, already famous for his military victories in Italy and Egypt, emerged as a symbol of strength and competence. Although officially only a general, his reputation overshadowed civilian leaders. The coup did not happen overnight. It was the result of careful planning, political manipulation, and public frustration. On 18 Brumaire, Napoleon transformed his military prestige into political authority, signaling the end of revolutionary republicanism and the beginning of a new era centered on personal power and centralized rule. The political environment before 18 Brumaire was one of paralysis and fear. The Directory faced threats from both royalists and radical Jacobins, while inflation, food shortages, and military losses undermined public confidence. Elections were frequently annulled, revealing how fragile the constitutional system had become. In this climate, many politicians believed that only a strong figure backed by the army could save the Republic. Napoleon's return from Egypt in October 1799 was perfectly timed. Despite the military failure of the Egyptian campaign, propaganda turned him into a heroic savior. Influential figures like CAS saw in him a tool to reshape the state. What made Napoleon different was not just ambition, but opportunity. The revolutionary institutions had lost legitimacy, and legality itself became flexible. The coup was framed as a necessary correction, not a betrayal, of revolutionary ideals: order over chaos, authority over weakness. On 18 Brumaire, the coup unfolded under the appearance of constitutional legality. Napoleon was appointed to command troops in Paris, supposedly to protect the government from an alleged Jacobin plot. The councils were moved to Saint-Cloud, away from the restless population of Paris. Behind this legal facade, the real goal was to dissolve the existing system. However, events did not go smoothly. When Napoleon entered the Council of 500, he was met with hostility and accusations of tyranny. Deputies shouted, interrupted him, and some even physically threatened him. For a brief moment, the coup seemed close to failure. It was not Napoleon's speech, but military force, led by his brother Lucien, that saved the situation. Soldiers cleared the hall, ending parliamentary resistance. This moment symbolized the triumph of armed power over representative politics. The role of the army was central to the success of the coup. Unlike earlier revolutionary leaders, Napoleon commanded personal loyalty from his troops. Soldiers admired him not only as a general, but as a leader who shared their hardships and victories. When political debate collapsed into chaos at Saint-Cloud, it was the silent presence of bayonets that decided the outcome. This marked a dangerous precedent. Political authority now depended on military support. The Republic had been founded on the sovereignty of the people, but on 18 Brumaire, sovereignty shifted toward the army and its commander. Napoleon did not openly declare himself dictator. Instead, he allowed institutions to collapse under pressure. By doing so, he appeared as the man restoring stability rather than destroying democracy. This illusion of salvation would later justify even greater concentrations of power in his hands. After the coup, a new political system was rapidly constructed. The Constitution of Year 8 replaced the Directory with the Consulate, officially led by 3 consuls. In theory, power was shared. In practice, Napoleon dominated everything. As first consul, he controlled the army, foreign policy, and administration. The legislative bodies were deliberately weakened, reduced to debating without real authority. This system preserved the language of the revolution: liberty, equality, popular sovereignty. while emptying them of substance. Napoleon presented himself as the protector of revolutionary achievements, such as the abolition of feudal privileges. Yet he also restored order through censorship, police surveillance, and centralized control. The coup of 18 Brumaire thus did not simply overthrow a government. It redesigned politics itself. Authority was no longer contested openly. It flowed downward from a single source. Napoleon's rise after 18, Brumaire was remarkably swift. Within a few years, he transformed from first consul to consul for life, and eventually emperor. The coup provided him with legitimacy rooted in necessity rather than ideology. Many French citizens accepted authoritarian rule in exchange for peace and stability. Napoleon skillfully used plebiscites to claim popular support, even though these votes were tightly controlled. He also reformed administration, law, and education, most famously through the Napoleonic Code. These reforms created an image of efficiency and rational governance. In this way, the coup was retroactively justified by success. What mattered was not how power was taken, but how it was used. For supporters, 18 Brumaire saved France from collapse. For critics, it marked the death of the Republic and the betrayal of revolutionary ideals. The coup of 18 Brumaire can be seen as both an end and a beginning. It ended the revolutionary experiment with representative democracy, which had struggled under war and internal division. At the same time, it began the Napoleonic era, characterized by centralized authority, military expansion, and administrative reform. Napoleon did not restore the old monarchy, but he replaced revolutionary uncertainty with personal rule. This balance between continuity and rupture explains why many contemporaries accepted the coup. It felt less like a violent overthrow and more like a controlled transition. However, this acceptance came at a cost. Political pluralism disappeared, and dissent was increasingly suppressed. The revolution that began with demands for liberty ultimately produced a ruler who concentrated power in his own hands. 18 Brumaire thus stands as a paradox of modern history. Internationally, the coup had major consequences. European powers closely watched the rise of Napoleon, uncertain whether he would seek peace or conquest. Initially, his consolidation of power brought a temporary stabilization of France's foreign relations. But soon, the same military energy that enabled the coup fueled expansive wars across Europe. The authority gained on 18 Brumaire allowed Napoleon to mobilize resources efficiently and pursue ambitious campaigns. In this sense, the coup laid the institutional foundation for the Napoleonic Wars. It also spread revolutionary ideas through conquest, even as France itself moved toward authoritarianism. Other nations learned an important lesson. Modern states could be reshaped rapidly by military leaders who combined popular appeal with force. The events of 18 Brumaire therefore influenced not only France, but the political evolution of Europe as a whole. Historians continue to debate whether 18 Brumaire was inevitable. Some argue that the Directory was doomed and that any strong leader would have replaced it. Others emphasize Napoleon's unique ambition and charisma. What is clear is that the coup exploited weaknesses rather than creating them. Constitutional instability, political fragmentation, and war fatigue prepared the ground. Napoleon merely stepped into a vacuum of authority. Yet his personal choices shaped the outcome profoundly. He could have remained a military strongman supporting civilian rule. Instead, he chose to dominate the political system. This decision transformed France's trajectory for decades. The coup reminds us that revolutions do not always end with freedom. They often end with power concentrated in new hands. In conclusion, the coup of 18 Brumaire was not a sudden betrayal, but the culmination of revolutionary exhaustion. It marked the moment when France chose order over uncertainty and strength over debate. Napoleon Bonaparte rose not just through force, but through his ability to embody the hopes and fears of a nation in crisis. The coup ended the French Revolution politically, even as it preserved some of its social achievements. Its legacy is deeply ambiguous: stability and reform on one side, authoritarianism and war on the other. Understanding 18 Brumaire helps explain how modern dictatorships can emerge from democratic breakdowns. It is a reminder that when institutions weaken, charismatic leaders can rise quickly, and once power is centralized, it is rarely surrendered voluntarily.